A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid many-fold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces.
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Cyrus, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you can't hear me.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
To know war is to know that there is still madness in this world. There are poor to be lifted up, and there are cities to be built, and there's a world to be helped. Yet, we do what we must. I am hopeful, and I will try with best I can with everything I've got to end this battle and to return our sons to their desires.
I thank everyone who acts in support of Ukraine, in support of freedom, but the war continues. The acts of terror against peaceful people go on. 1 month already. That long. It breaks my heart.
Throughout the long and difficult period of Watergate, I have felt it was my duty to persevere, to make every possible effort to complete the term of office to which you elected me. In the past few days, however, it has become evident to me that I no longer have a strong enough political base in the Congress to justify continuing that effort. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. These attacks continue as I speak. Ground forces are not engaged. This conflict started August 2nd when the dictator of Iraq invaded a small and helpless neighbor. Kuwait, a member of the Arab League and a member of the United Nations, was crushed. Its people brutalized. 5 months ago, Saddam Hussein started this cruel war against Kuwait. Tonight, the battle has been joined.
We fly over the top of Iran and Tehran. Fighters and bombers all day, picking targets as they choose. As our intelligence gets better and better and more refined. Looking up, the IRGC and Iranian regime sees only two things on the side of aircraft: the stars and stripes and the Star of David.
You've messed with the wrong country. Your propaganda doesn't work anymore. And the Iranian people have shown their resolve. They'll see this through.
Live from our studios in Las Vegas, Nevada and Chongqing, China, this is Let's Talk Geopolitics with Cyrus Jansen and Alex Reportify.
I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
Well, everybody, welcome to Sunday evening here in Beijing, 9 p.m. and time check also in New York, I believe is 9 a.m. I am here with my good buddy, Cyrus Jansen. Cyrus, welcome to the program, my friend, to Let's Talk Geopolitics.
Alex, it's a pleasure to be here. Just going to do a mic check. I'm actually coming in live on the road, everybody. A little bit different background in studio, but it's important that we keep the momentum going here on LTG. Let's talk geopolitics, because we have some major updates this week, Alex. We see the war in Iran continuing to intensify. We're coming up to a very important deadline that President Donald Trump has set, saying that he is going to bomb Iran into the Stone Age, and that they have less than 48 hours to comply, or else all hell will be broken loose. So we're going to be breaking down the latest in that. We've seen quite an interesting week in developments here, so I definitely want to get into this for all of our viewers out there. And, there's just so much to cover. We got some amazing clips and an amazing show for you guys today.
Yeah, I saw the packet of show clips that you have, and it's almost like it's growing by the hour here, seeing what is happening right before our eyes, and we're hearing war crimes being tweeted out, and to the average person, everyone's becoming numb of this. Cyrus, what do you think the tone of the American people are? Do they have the appetite to see this continue for weeks ahead?
Well, Alex, I think you've seen Donald Trump's approval rating just fell below 30%. I believe it was 29%. And that is a very big metric here in the United States, because, basically, obviously, vast majority of Democrats do not support Donald Trump. Independents do not serve Donald Trump. And now we're starting to see a lot of the Republican Party starting to switch as well. And I think that 30% is a very big metric, because I think what you're going to see is the potential for a lot of Republican congressmen and women to start to actually think about their own political future and realize that, hey, maybe just towing the line and supporting Donald Trump, and his endless goals is maybe not the best for my own political career. I think a lot of U.S. politicians are going to start to realize that Trump is a sinking ship. His approval rating is very low. The damage that has been done right now in the Strait of Hormuz, I want people to really understand this, Alex, is that let's just say that this conflict ends tomorrow, there is already a massive shock to the supply chain of oil. This has ripple effects throughout the world economy. And, we're going to be looking at sky high gas prices in the United States for the foreseeable future. So this is not something that Donald Trump can clean up in a month, 2 months, 3 months, even if he were to stop today. So I definitely think that he is going towards the midterms and going to get absolutely swept. Democrats are going to sweep the House, the Senate. Donald Trump will become a lame duck president. He will then be subjected to potential impeachment and even jail time as the Democrats take over, and certainly can bring on articles of impeachment based on so many things that he's done that's against the Constitution. So I think as a result of all of this, I think we're going to start to see some Republican congressmen realize, hey, do I really want to tie my boat to this one? I think this is the Titanic that's going to be sinking. I don't know if maybe I need to start distancing myself from Trump. And I think that's where we are right now. American public are not happy. Nobody wanted this war. Absolutely nobody wanted this war. And it's wreaking havoc on our own economy here. I'm actually on the road in California where gas is approaching $7 a gallon. Obviously, California is the most expensive gas in the United States, but it is, seeing $7 on the pump is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, if this is winning and if this is America first, amazing. We have seen prices skyrocket over the last 30 days. If you just look at the price of gas, you look at oil, everything is affected by it. Plastics, import, export, all these businesses are being hit straight on. And then on top of that, we saw the pharmaceutical tariffs being brought in late Friday or late Thursday, as Friday was a holiday in the U.S. Going into Monday, I was looking at the gray markets in IG.com over the weekend here, seeing what oil is going to do tentatively. Speculation is for Monday that it is going to again open up between another $2 to $3 a barrel higher. I'm not sure how much more the economy is going to be able to take, but again, this is hitting the average hardworking American right in the pocketbook. And you and I spoke over the weekend here, and I was sending you some messages saying, you know what, Cyrus, I really don't get this. What is the United States doing there? They say it's not regime change. Well, okay, you've just killed an 86-year-old man, his family, in their house, not on the run. And well, I would say that is regime change. If that's not it, then you've claimed that you have taken out any threat of nuclear weapon or like a nuclear warhead or something like that. Now, the other interesting point that I wanted to point out to you was I thought we had wiped out 100% of the Navy, 100% of any way they own the skies in the U.S. Well, what do you think of that, Cyrus? Do they own the skies in Iran? Do the Americans own the skies?
Well, yeah, no, it's a great question, Alex. And I think what we have to really realize, guys, is that every single piece of information coming from the White House has to be regarded as propaganda at this point. And the simple thing is that we have proof that the United States went in with the concept that this was going to be like Venezuela. They thought that they could literally just come in, bomb the Ayatollah, kill him. Immediately that would force the Iranian people to rise up and start a regime change. And I mean, you have to go back to the early days. Remember when the Ayatollah was killed, this is what Donald Trump said. He said, look, this is your chance at freedom. Everybody, it's now up in your hands. Rise up, start a new government. And the most incredible thing that we have to remember here, guys, is that there has never been a successful air campaign in United States history where the United States has gone and bombed a country, and then that country all of a sudden, the people revolt and the people immediately start a democracy. It's just the probability of that happening is so low because you can't just start an entirely new government out of nothing. And the simple reality is that, we've had guests on the show like Professor Morandi. There's actually a lot of support for the Iranian regime. Yes, I'm not saying it's 100%. Yes, of sure, there are people protesting against the regime as well. But the majority of people do actually support the government. What happens here, Alex, and I think our viewers need to understand this, is that it's very impossible to think that, okay, you're going to start dropping bombs on me, and then I'm going to think, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to follow you. Thanks for dropping the bombs on us, killing innocent civilians. We're going to take your advice, and we're going to go try to follow in your footsteps. No, what it does is it hardens people, especially the youth. I think a lot of the youth, this is what Professor Morandi had said on our channel when we hosted him on our live stream a couple weeks ago, is that a lot of the youth, people that are under the age of 20, a lot of them really bought into this. They were anti-regime. They were really pro-America. They were protesting in the streets. Then all of a sudden they see the Americans just dropping all these bombs on them and killing them. And they've now done a complete 180. Well, why? I'm not going to support you anymore. You're literally killing us. You're destroying our infrastructure. The U.S. is boasting that we've hit 10,000 targets. We've hit 20,000 targets, whatever the number is. But Alex, to get back to your question, does the United States own the skies? Well, yesterday, actually, I believe it was 2 days ago now, the United States lost 4 aircraft in one day. Alex, you got to go back to 1972 in the Vietnam War. Is the last time that the United States had lost that many aircraft in one day. And that day in 1972, the United States lost 11 aircraft in a single day. That was the most catastrophic loss in United States military history. But we have not lost more than 1 military plane at a time since then. So to lose 4 is quite remarkable. And I think, this is what people need to understand. Again, I mentioned anything coming out of the White House is propaganda because this is what Trump says. Look, we've destroyed their Navy. Okay, we've sunk in everything. They have no Navy left. They have no military. They have no power in the skies. If that's true, why is the Strait of Hormuz still closed? Why is Israel still getting pummeled with missiles every single day? Why did 4 United States aircraft go down yesterday? And I think this is what people need to understand is that Iran still has a tremendous amount of missiles left in their arsenal. And this has been proven. This is United States intelligence that has revealed this. And again, I want people to understand when that Strait of Hormuz is closed, it is not closed by Iranian soldiers standing on the shores guarding it 24/7. Of course, they would be easy targets and get picked off. The Strait of Hormuz is closed by missile launchers located up to 200 kilometers away. And Iran is controlling it remotely. So if an oil tanker that they don't want wants to pass through, they're going to strike it from a missile launcher 200 kilometers away. And I think that's what people need to understand is that Iran has extreme leverage. And today, the tactical warfare has changed so much, Alex. United States boasts that we have this amazing $5 billion aircraft carrier. It's the most advanced aircraft carrier in the world. Well, guess what? It's been rendered useless, and it's now going back to port in the United States, undergoing a 13-month repair job because it's useless. Because guess what? You don't need a $5 billion aircraft carrier to compete with that. All you need is drones, speedboats, small bombs. this is what Iran has been able to prove, is that your large military vessels are essentially useless in 2026. Days are changed, Alex. It's not World War II where naval ships are having a battle with cannons on the side of the ships, and a bigger boat meant naval superiority, right? This is not the olden days where pirate ships are running around, right? I mean, gosh, drones can do a tremendous amount of damage, and that's what we've seen right now.
Well, at $900 million today to float those boats, that's getting a little bit expensive, if you ask me. And another thing that I wanted to cover the drone technology from the Iranians. Now, the Iranians, they have a drone that they were selling to the Russians over the last few years, which has been quite affordable, anywhere from $25,000 to $45,000 per drone. But the ability, what these drones have, the ability to cause destruction, have pretty much saved the country from being, I would say, completely 100% defenseless. Now, we're hearing that they can produce anywhere from, we're hearing estimates from 1,000 to as many as 10,000 of these a day. Now, I don't know if you watch the recent or you read the recent article on the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom. They did about a 13 or 14-minute video on it. They researched it. They went in. They talked to the Ukrainians, because the Ukrainians have had to deal with this because the Russians did buy it, rebranded it, and have used it in the Ukraine. And it's a completely different, as you say, it's a completely different war field out there. It's not the same as what it even used to be maybe 5-10 years ago. So everything is in the sky. Right. Some of these people can say, okay, yeah, we got a 250,000, 350,000 man army. Well, look at what they're doing in the Ukraine and Russia. I mean, the front lines, it's back and forth, back and forth. And I mean, even Vladimir Zelensky is trying to get involved in this latest round of sharing drone technology.
Well, I think with Zelensky, I think he's actually desperate to try to get some favor from Trump, because unfortunately for him, Alex, is that they have taken a lot of the missile interceptors from Ukraine and really taken them back over to the Middle East. I mean, I want people to remember all of the things that Iran has been able to do against the United States. For example, the first one was taking out the THAAD missile interceptors. Now, these systems cost up to $1 billion. They had over 5 of them in the Middle East, and in Iran has destroyed every single one of them. So much that the United States government went to South Korea, took out all of the THAAD missile interceptors there, relocated them to the Middle East. Again, we've seen the United States go to Ukraine and say, hey, we need that drone technology. We need that missile interceptors. And, Ukraine would actually be a good ally for the United States in this conflict, because, Ukraine is obviously very experienced in dealing with drone attacks and battling, Russia on the battlefield for the last 4 years. So I think it's almost Zelensky trying to say, hey, Trump, can I help you out? I'd like to help you out in exchange that hopefully you still remember me, and that realize that we're still in a battle as well with Russia on the front lines. Of course, Russia is one of the biggest beneficiaries of this entire war, with oil skyrocketing so much. Vladimir Putin is making more money than he ever has, double, he's making double the amount of money than he was a month ago, just by simply, exporting oil. And so, I do think that it's a desperate it's kind of a smart move from Zelensky, I think, trying to gain favor, but largely I think Donald Trump has forgotten him. I mean, obviously, and I think, Alex, you and I were talking yesterday. Yeah. I think the issue here with Donald Trump is that he has realized what a colossal mistake that they have done, but it's an ego. You have to remember that Donald Trump is the world's biggest narcissist. He has a tremendous ego. There is no ability in his body to admit that he made a mistake, to admit that he needs to pivot. And so the only thing you can do, it's almost like you're caught in a lie, right? You have to just double down and keep telling that lie. And we all know that, right? You start off with a little lie, you double down on it, you then tell another person, you tell another person, and then before you know, you fast forward a month, the entire village knows about it, the whole community knows about it, and what started off as this innocent little lie has now turned into this entire catastrophe for you. And that's exactly what's happened to the United States. They have, they thought, again, the thing we need to have people understand, they thought it was going to be like Venezuela, and to the United States, they were able to go in, capture Maduro very easily, put him in jail where he still is right now in Brooklyn, and basically, be able to capture that oil. But, Venezuela and Iran are very, very different, countries. They're different civilizations. I mean, my gosh, you have a country of 93 million people, Alex, in Iran. I mean, it's a total different thing. And it just shows you a little bit, unfortunately, the American ignorance. Again, Donald Trump does not read his briefing notes. He has this arrogance, and that you can look at, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, Scotty Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. All of these guys have this certain type of arrogance amongst them that they think that America is the biggest, the best. We can do whatever we want. And they're getting absolutely hosed right now. They're getting exposed. And the only thing that they can do is try to let the people know, like, hey, we're winning this war. But the reality is that American fighter jets are being shot down now. Now, the United States did launch a successful rescue mission. They were able to, rescue those 2 pilots that went down, which was, an incredible mission, that they were actually able to do that. And I think that's just going to actually feed into more propaganda from Trump, right? This is how Trump's going to spin it. Look, no man left behind. You saw that trending on Twitter yesterday, Alex. No man left behind. Now Trump has to go in, and this is exactly like we see in the United States, right? The movie Top Gun, where it's Tom Cruise is the fighter jet pilot. Guys, no man left behind. We just launched this amazing mission. America's so incredible. We just saved our men. It's Easter weekend. God bless America. We're number one. And so it's actually really useful propaganda for Donald Trump, because he can say, look at this. We had 2 pilots down. Our men launched the most dangerous rescue mission in the world. And of course, America was able to rescue them. Obviously, I'm a U.S. citizen. I love to see that our soldiers were rescued. I feel bad that they were put in that position in the first place. They shouldn't be over there. Shouldn't be in Iran right now. And this is the really sad thing about this, is that there's no purpose to this war. Donald Trump has started a global catastrophe. People don't realize this. You and I, of course, called this weeks ago, Alex, when we said, look, oil's going well past $100. I mean, it's going to absolutely skyrocket here. People laughed at us. People said, you're ridiculous. This doesn't affect the United States at all. We have all this oil refinery in Texas. Who cares? We don't need the Strait of Hormuz. But the problem is oil is traded on the international market, right? It doesn't matter where the oil comes from, whether it's China, Russia, it's all traded on the international markets. And we have to realize we live in a global economy, guys. I mean, we're seeing Myanmar right now, gas stations, 3-hour wait lines. You've got thousands upon thousands of motorbikes lining up trying to get gas. I've heard the Philippines has just enough diesel left for about 40 days left in their economy. I mean, if things don't start to change, it's going to get very dicey for many parts of the world. But not only that, just remember what we said. Even if it stops today, there's still a lot of after effect that's going to take many, many months to clean up. So, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but, Alex, you and I look at the trends. We look at what's happening, and, we understand how this world economy works. It's just not going to magically disappear overnight.
Yeah, and I think there's a big confusion with the average person in the United States thinking, okay, we've been told by the administration we have an abundance of oil, but it's not about that. Different types of oil, whether it's shale, whether it's, Brent oil, you have to look at what the cost is to refine this. Now, the other thing that I wanted to note is we are not looking at the same Donald Trump from even 2020. We are looking at an individual that, to me, Cyrus, something's not right here. His speech isn't the same. The way that he lashes out. Normally, he's pretty cool and kind of comical about things, but this is pretty reckless now. And I think we are looking at a man that is, I think he's ill. I think something's wrong here with his health. That's speculation, of course, but I'm not the only one that says that. When, he used to have an extra jump in his step. Yes, he's getting older, and that's normal. But something's not right here. The decisions that are being made are just catastrophic. You don't march an entire military like America's into Iran to what? You want regime change? No, didn't happen. Okay, we're going to bomb this culture into freedom. No. We're there for the oil now. No. We're there to stop a nuclear bomb from happening. No. We could say it's all of them, but the administration can't really come up with an answer for anything. There is a clip that I watched just recently here, quite disturbing a few weeks back, but good old Lindsey Graham might be able to tell give us some light, shed some light on what really America's up to. Let's roll that clip.
$1 billion a day. Oil prices up 27% in a week. You've got the president wanting a $1.5 trillion defense budget in 27. The idea that the Pentagon is about to come to you for $50 billion on these strikes to Iran. How are you going to answer?
Best money ever spent. Was it worth to America to take down a religious Nazi regime who's trying to build a nuclear weapon to deliver to America? That's a really good investment. They're going to fall. It's not if the regime falls, it's a matter of when. And you didn't mention today, and nobody has, quite frankly, we now know they had enough 60% enriched uranium to make 11 bombs. We're going to win. Israel and the United States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people. This regime is in a death row now. It is going to be on its knees. It's going to fall. And when it falls, we're going to have peace like no other time. We're going to have prosperity unlike anyone could ever imagine. Peace brings prosperity. You can't do it by talking. The Democrats criticize this operation. They didn't do a damn thing. These men and women in the military should make us all proud. I'm not looking for a fair fight. If we get in a fight, I want to win it. I want to win it quick. I'm in Miami. You see this hat? Free Cuba. Stay tuned. The liberation of Cuba is upon us. It's just a matter of time now. You see this hat? Make Iran great. President Trump said the only way to make Iran great is for the people to take over. We're marching through the world. We're cleaning out the bad guys. We're going to have relationships with new people that will make us prosperous and safe. I've never seen anybody like it. This is Ronald Reagan plus. Donald Trump is resetting the world in a way nobody could have dreamed of a year ago. He is the greatest commander-in-chief of all time. Our military is the best of all time. Iran is going down, and Cuba is next.
Well, all of us heard that clip. Just so you know, Cyrus, we heard that. And guys, just to let you know, we're working the bugs out backstage here, getting the new software up. Cyrus, we're looking pretty good right now, I think. But yeah, the viewers heard the sound. Next time, hopefully, we'll get the sound to you, Cyrus. But of course, you can imagine what Lindsey Graham said. Cuba is next.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look for, honestly, one of the most corrupt and vile human beings on the world, and I mean that with my sincere heart, you just need to look at the senator from South Carolina. I mean, Lindsey Graham. I mean, this guy is absolutely a disgusting human being, and I have no problem saying that out. I'd say it right to his face. You know, Alex, I'm just so disappointed because, you know, what's incredible about this is, what about the people of South Carolina, the people that he is elected to serve? I never hear this guy talk about anything he's doing in South Carolina, but yet he's on the private jets with Donald Trump, you know, flying all over the country. You know, he seems to be, you know, what he is he's basically the poster boy. And he, you know, he's like, you know, in high school where you have the you know, the school bully who kind of walks around, and then you have that one small guy that kind of just follows the bully, and he's basically his lackey. You know, he just kind of gets the bully a cup of water. You know, he gets the bully like an extra cupcake at the school lunch, and you know, the little guy's a loser, but yet he's found some favor and kind of somewhat being cool because he gets to hang out with the bully. But basically, the bully just uses him to kind of do the mediocre tasks. That's exactly what Lindsey Graham is to Donald Trump, and it's a really sad thing to see because, you know, here he is, you know, he's like, we're going to make Iran great again by what? Bombing them to smithereens. You know, I mean, this is the new propaganda coming out from the White House, is that, look, you know, we're going to bomb them into the Stone Age, and that this is going to cause them to submit to us, and that all of a sudden, again, you know, these unicorns and rainbows is going to come out. All of a sudden, you know, a brand new democracy will be formed, and people will be lining up in the streets to elect their new leader. No, all you're doing is you're hardening a class of people against you, where new generations will hate America even more. Because why? Because you're killing everybody. You're destroying our country, and you have no plan. Again, I want people to remember, you know, there's never been an air campaign in United States history that has actually resulted in a successful regime change. We look at Afghanistan, 20 years, $2 trillion to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. We did not do that. And that was after a lot of boots on the ground there, guys. I mean, this was after a lot of people were there. So again, I think you see, Alex, is you see people just not, not really understanding the situation. I mean, we've now heard this message from Lindsey Graham that Cuba is going to be next. Cuba's our target. We have to hit Cuba. And I mean, and for him to say that, again, I mean, I don't know if you saw that clip, Donald Trump, I think we have that clip actually, is Donald Trump saying that he's the greatest president of all time.
President
and
of all
now
time?
Lindsey Graham.
Okay, let's play it. You okay we play it?
Yeah, play it.
All right, let's roll.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection.
Yeah, we got to
Alex,
take care of one thing, military.
Yeah, I mean that's, this is what's really frustrating, for the American people, Alex, is because we see, okay, we need $200 billion to get the Strait of Hormuz opened up. Okay, we're going to send another $200 billion to Ukraine. I mean, this is where people, you talk about, Alex, you asked me earlier in the day, what are the American people thinking about this? To have the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, go address the nation and say, look, we can't pay for daycare. That's not something that we can afford. That's what people actually want inside this country. I'll give you a really great statistic. Alex, you and I are both Canadian, okay? I'm a dual citizen, USA and Canada. But this is the craziest thing about Canada. This is the thing I love most about Canada. In Canada, 12 months maternity leave for women in that country. You can have the option to actually extend that to 18 months. And if you do extend to 18 months, you get the 12-month salary divided over 18 months. You can get up to 18 months maternity leave in Canada. You have a government that supports women. It is absolutely one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, because in the Canadian government's eyes, being able to take care of your children and having affordable health care is important. In Vancouver, British Columbia, where I lived, there are daycare policies where the government will supplement, so that the mother and the family, that you at maximum have to pay $10 a day for daycare. That is a policy in British Columbia, and obviously it costs more than $10 a day, and the government supplements that daycare facility because they realize that having maternity leave, taking daycare, this is important for society. This is how we raise better children, how we raise better Canadians, and we need to make sure that we give back to society. That's what I learned during my 5 years of living in Canada, Alex. You come to America, you'll be lucky for moms who will have 4 or 5 weeks of maternity leave, a lot of it unpaid. And I mean, I remember being at a hotel, the mom's like, yeah, I'm pregnant. I got to have about 3 weeks off, and I got to get right back to work because we just can't afford it. And I got to send my 3-week-old to full-time daycare. 3 weeks old. Are you kidding me? That's absolute inhumane. But this is where America, this is the reality of the United States. It's a great place to be if you've got money and you could hire a full-time nanny and, you don't have to worry about that stuff. But for the majority of Americans, God, they would love to have affordable daycare because it's a huge expense. And this just shows you, hey, my name's Donald Trump. I'm the president, and I care more about the military-industrial complex. I care more about these military contracts going to Jared Kushner, these, crazy, deals that we're doing with Qatar and all of this money laundering and the corruption that is just insider trading. I mean, you just cannot make it up how wild this is right now in the United States. And I agree with your earlier comment, Alex, that he's really lost his mind.
Yeah, let's talk about the insider trading. I mean, we saw a $580 million trade last Monday at about 6:54 a.m. before the U.S. market opened. And for a lot of the people out there, most people think that the market opens in around 9:30, closes around 4:30, depending if it's in Frankfurt or whatever. But the actual derivatives market pretty much dictates the stock market, and it is pretty much open 24 hours a day. As of Sunday evening, New York time, the derivatives market opens. And the timing of Trump's comments, tweets, or truth posts seem rather suspect. Even Pete Hegseth's broker is under, I'm hearing, I don't know if it's under formal investigation, but a lot of newspapers have reported that there were calls to make certain trades before the market. Now, the derivatives market, let's talk about that and why it affects the average person out there. Well, if you have an administration that cares more about the stock market than they do about you, well, that's a problem. And we have seen this. All you have to do is look up a few stocks. If you look up DJT, that's Donald Trump's, I believe, truth stock. Let me give you a price on that. And then there's ABC, which is American Bitcoin. That's his son's. Just look at the track record on these. Trump Media and Technology, DJT, I think that is trading pretty much near its 52-week low. And if you have ABC shares as well, that's called American Bitcoin. That is pretty much, I think, gone under $1 now. So this is a family that has one hell of a track record of bankruptcies, whether it's casinos in Atlantic City. I mean, Cyrus, the grocery list is huge. We got a lot of clips back here that we're going to look at. And next week, guys, we're going to get our name tags sorted out for you. Yeah, we do have some, but they're in the opposite order. But Cyrus, what do we got back here? Which clip would you like us to play for you?
Play any one of them. Just play a clip. We'll react
away.
to it. We got, so basically through the week we've got some clips, and we're going to show you guys and
On
break
Palm
it down.
Sunday, Jesus entered Jerusalem as crowds welcomed him with praise, honoring him as king. They call me king now. Do you believe it? No king. I'm such a king, I can't get a ballroom approved. It's pretty amazing, right? I'm a king. If I was a king, we'd be doing a lot more. I'm doing a lot, but I could be doing a lot more if I was a king.
Well,
I mean,
we hear it from the king himself.
Well, I mean, Alex, I mean, to me, that's just a big disrespect. I mean, it's obviously Easter Sunday here in the United States. It's it is the most important, Christian holiday in the country. And, for Trump to kind of compare himself to Jesus, say that I'm a king, they called him king. Now they call me king. Are you trying to say that you're as important as Jesus? I mean, we've got another clip, I think, where he basically, actually says that he is the most important president in the United States history.
Wow.
I mean, again, it's not George Washington who, founded the country. It's not Abraham Lincoln who saved the country from being destroyed, basically torn apart in two. But, he thinks that and again, it just goes back to the earlier comment. He's a narcissist. He just loves to hear himself speak. Mm-hmm. He thinks he's the greatest, the best, and he only surrounds himself with people that will toe that line. He will surround himself with people that genuinely believe that. And so that's the issue that we're now seeing in the United States is, unfortunately, we just have egomaniac in the White House. And yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I did see this incredible tweet that went viral. Alex, you're going to find a kick out of this, is that it was some amazing infrastructure in China. I mean, you and I know China better than anybody. But I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about China, and it was this incredible new train station. I forgot what the piece of architecture was. And somebody tweeted back, it's like, yeah, but have you heard about our ballroom? Kind of as a shot at Donald Trump, and realizing it's like, look, the Chinese society is being benefited by incredible investments from the government. Guys, I just actually released a new video yesterday of attending Europe's largest tech event, where I had a chance to go and cover, many different Chinese companies. I focused a lot on Huawei because Huawei actually had about 50% of one of the pavilions. So about half of one pavilion was the Huawei booth. And if you want to see how Chinese companies are impacting the world, I want you to go and look at my latest video, because it's incredible, right? What they're building in Africa and South America, countries around the world, bringing internet infrastructure, for 5G networks to some of the most underserved communities in the world. China is doing some incredible projects, and I was just so honored to go to Europe, showcase this incredible event, showcase what China's doing around the world. But that's where people are seeing, here's Donald Trump. I'm more concerned about my ballroom. I want this big, luxurious ballroom so that, I can be the president that, expanded the White House. And Alex, it was no different than Greenland. When Donald Trump wanted to go after Greenland, I'm convinced he wanted to do that because he could double the United States landmass. He could go on the record and be like, I'm the president that expanded the United States territory, right? We gained 40% more landmass because of me negotiating Greenland. I think that was really his main call for trying to get access to Greenland, much like Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was responsible for the Louisiana Purchase, which was a purchase that the United States made from France, which basically doubled the size of the United States overnight. And I'm going to say around like 1827. So, that Louisiana Purchase, that was a great testimony to Jefferson's legacy, because it's like, hey, I'm the president that doubled the size of the United States. And here we are in 2026. Trump's like, hey, I got a shot at this. I'm going to take Greenland. Let's manufacture some excuse like, hey, we need it for military security, despite the fact that we already have a military agreement with Denmark and Greenland to be able to use it. And then, of course, that thing was a catastrophe. And Alex, I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that a report came out that Danish military officers were in position in Greenland, ready to blow up the airport runways with dynamite? If
really?
In fact, the United States.
I didn't see that report.
Yep, brand new report came out. They were in position, prepared to blow up the runways if the United States were to attack. How about that? I mean, how about that for how our allies are treating us right now? That was a massive report. I shared it on Twitter a couple weeks ago.
This 51st state of America, I still believe that it may happen. And I'm not kidding, with this current administration. I'm serious. And with all due respect, I am serious about it. You don't think so?
Well, as proud Canadians, we're going to fight. No, I mean, I think it's just, honestly, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I think it's just a ridiculous talking point. The majority of Canadians would have zero interest in ever becoming American. And it's the same thing, imagine it's the same thing. Like, Alex, if you're Canadian national, imagine, and you kind of get this in China sometimes, right? Sometimes Chinese people, when they hear your accent, a Canadian accent's quite close to American. They'll be like, oh, Canada, Tapadola, it's like same as America. Like, no, I'm Canadian. Like, we're different. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm different. There is a difference, and I know a lot of Canadians, would not like that when they get called being an American. My wife included. It was really funny because she's Canadian and she has a North American accent, and she's very, very adamant for people to know that she's Canadian, not American. That's, you are what you are. But I mean, I think Trump he's trying to do that. I think I think it goes back to your comment earlier, Alex. We don't know what to expect from Trump. He's all over the damn place.
I just think America's in free fall. I think America's in free fall, and the average person has just been bombed out themselves. Again, doesn't matter what sector, what business that you're in, you're getting hammered. And every Monday that opens up on the market for the week, I get rather nervous because, this economy, it was so fragile coming out of the pandemic in 2022, 2023. Things were going quite well, not perfect, but the average person was back earning money. And then again, he started up with tariffs. That brought the market down to, I think, in the mid-4s in the S&P. And of course, a lot of Americans have investments in the stock market, and they are nervous because this impacts them. Now, he'll say, well, you know what? It's a small-term pain for the long-term gain. That statement is probably going to come back to haunt them. Okay, so let's look at some more clips here. Let's play the one from Ted Cruz. No, not Ted Cruz.
And at the end of the
Rubio.
day, I think that if there are people in Iran who now, given everything that's happened, are willing to move in a different direction for their country, that would be great. Imagine in Iran that instead of spending their wealth, billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, had spent that money helping the people of Iran, you'd have a much different country. So we are always hopeful that that would exist over there.
Wow, what a guy.
I mean, it goes back to that. I mean, I want people to remember, we just played a clip about 10 minutes ago where Donald Trump says we can't afford daycare. The United States, supposedly the greatest nation in the entire world, the most powerful nation in the world, the #1 economy. We're the biggest, we're the best, we're everything. Hey guys, sorry. We cannot afford daycare for you guys. Okay. I know that you have mothers that are trying to work. Alex, I mean, the reality is the vast majority of Americans, they have to have 2 incomes. You can't survive off of a single income anymore in the United States because the prices are so high. So mothers have to work. It's not an option. It's not like, hey, maybe I'd like to go to work today just because I want to, contribute. No, I need to go work because if I don't work, we can't live. That's the reality of the situation for the majority of Americans. And here you go, Marco Rubio. I mean, the audacity and just the ignorance is just astounding, right? Imagine an Iran that didn't spend billions on war. Well, imagine a United States that didn't spend trillions on war. Where would we be in the United States right now? Where would our country look like? Maybe we would have these high-speed rails that we see in China. Maybe we would have world-class subway systems instead of the absolute garbage that exists in New York City. I get it. Some people think it's the charm of New York. You have these grungy subway systems. No, I went there. It's awful. The airports are garbage. The subways are garbage. And again, I mean, this is where a lot of actually Asians have culture shock, because if you're coming from a Japan, South Korea, certainly China, you're like, man, I'm coming to Chicago. I want to go see these, coming to DC, I'm coming to here. It's just the infrastructure doesn't match what the United States should be. And I think that is just something that is really important. So, I mean, Rubio says, imagine Iran that didn't spend billions. I imagine the United States that didn't spend trillions. I mean, the largest contributor to geopolitical chaos over the last 25 years has been the United States. We had John Mearsheimer, professor from University of Chicago, came out and he did a study and said there's been 38 million people from 1971 to present day, 38 million people around the world that have died because of a result of United States sanctions. And again, this is just nonsense speak from Rubio. Their Iranian people are not going to rise up and support the United States government when their country is getting bombed. Alex, it's the opposite. It's the same thing in Cuba. I've been to Cuba. I've traveled there. I've spoken to the people. You think the Cuban people are going to support America right now? They realize it's not the Cuban government that's sanctioning them. It's the United States government that's sanctioning them. It's the U.S. that's hurting them. Why would I? Well, it's like somebody comes in and slaps you across the face, and then you're like, oh, thank you so much for slapping me across the face. Can you do more? Can I take you out for dinner? Like, give me a break. Sorry, I'm ranting this morning.
No, I mean, and first of all, great sunlight where you are. Where are you? Can you disclose your location, Cyrus? Or
yeah, I'm in San Diego, California right now. It is Easter weekend. I'm on a little bit of a holiday with my familia here and celebrating the Easter holiday. I've got on my nice Easter shirt. So, a little bit of spring is in the air. So, but we are committed to Let's Talk Geopolitics. Alex, this is going to be our new weekly show. And, we're just, dedicated out because I've been traveling a little bit on the road this week. And I'm just excited to, continue our show and just kind of reconnect with our audience. We had a great show last week with Daniel Dumrell and Carl Za. Love those guys. Alex, yourself, of course. But, I think the key thing for us is just trying to stay consistent and really build up a really nice weekly show for you guys and kind of break down all of the clips that we've seen throughout the week, kind of the biggest stories as we head in, and always bring in that financial element as well, Alex, because every Monday the stock market's going to open and we want to kind of make sure that we let our people know what's going on in the markets and geopolitics around the world. Happy Easter to everybody. I see a lot of nice comments here.
Yes, indeed. I hope it's going to be a calm rest of the day, but who knows what is going to go on over in the Middle East. And it's quite interesting that even if it ended today, I mean, there is such a blockade going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. It's incredible. Also, the amount of infrastructure that has been damaged over there, we are talking staggering amounts of infrastructure, whether it's refineries. We're now hearing a collapse of natural gas in certain countries over there. They just can't manage to keep up with the supply anymore because it's out of control. Now, how this is going to play out, Cyrus, is I feel in the next few weeks, as oil heads towards 125, 130, 135, 140, it's well on its way there. It has touched over 121. But if we we saw the WTI outpace the Brent, which is usually never happens. So that is showing a real alarm bells going off here. I would predict that the Americans are going to get very nervous if they see oil go magically, here we go, mark it down, guys, $125 a barrel. If you see that coming in the next week or two, you should probably see a change of attitude, I think, in the administration. Now, we have seen it where they've said, oh, let's have a ceasefire. The Iranians are like, no, we're going for broke. You guys have bombed our schools.
100%.
You've bombed our military installations. You've bombed our future. We're going right to the end. And Morandi has said that many times when we had him on the show. He's been very vocal about that. No, this is not going to be a brokered agreement. We're going to go right to the end of the world here.
Well, I think this is really the sentiment that we've seen. And Alex, we've had Professor Morandi on our show many times. And, the key thing I want people to understand is that this is a different situation, that the United States has chosen to escalate. When you take out the Ayatollah, this is the leader of the country, but it's also the religious leader. And so you have taken out somebody that is very important to the country. You have now replaced the Ayatollah with the Ayatollah's son, who's, by the way, his father, mother, wife, children, many people have been assassinated and killed. This guy is not going to become about things peacefully. He's going to seek vengeance. And I think with Iran, this is the problem, right? The United States has asked for a ceasefire. We need a ceasefire for 48 hours. No, we're not going to give you that ceasefire. And this is, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That is the kind of theme right now for Iran, because why on earth would anybody give you a ceasefire? Look at what happened last June, right? 12-day war in Iran. Basically, everything popped off. The United States bombed. We wanted a ceasefire, and over history, Iran has been lied to every time, right? The United States says, look, we want a meeting. We'd like to have a meeting. We want to discuss peace. As we're preparing for the meeting, the United States uses that announcement of a meeting as essentially a way to distract Iran, and then all of a sudden starts bombing the country. So again, there is zero trust from Iran. And why would you give Iran, Israel and the United States a ceasefire right now? You know what they're going to do. They're basically just going to take time, repair what they need to repair, build up their arsenal again. And then guess what happens, 6 months from now? Boom, boom, time to go again. And now you're going to get shelled. I think Morandi has been very clear about this. Iran has no interest in negotiating. This is going to be the fight once and for all. So again, you've opened Pandora's box, Trump. You have opened it up, and now you will be held with the responsibility and the cost of this. And it's something that, I've also talked to some investor friends here, Alex, and I don't think a lot of people really understand this. It still hasn't really hit home for a lot of people in America where, again, like I'm here I'm here celebrating Easter with my family. And a lot of people are like, you know what? Like, I'm sure this will all wrap up in the next month or two. And, because we host a geopolitics, YouTube channel, Alex, because we host Let's Talk Geopolitics, and we study this, we know this is what we make videos about this every single week. I just tell people I've got a lot of kind of deep knowledge of this. I don't think anybody's realizing how long this is going to happen. And I saw a very good video yesterday where this is really interesting, is that, if you have to imagine an oil tanker, this is actually a really brilliant clip. An oil tanker is huge. It's the size of like 4 football fields back to back to back to back. An incredible weight. There's around 3 million barrels of oil inside one of these tankers. And the speed that is traveling, Alex, on the ocean is equivalent to you riding your bicycle. So it is an extremely slow moving vessel. So what happens is if you look at when the war started, which was on, January 28th, right? Was it January 20th? No, February 28th. Sorry. February 28th is when the war started. Okay. Now, all of those oil tankers have already left port. Okay. So they've already passed through the Strait of Hormuz and they're going to their destinations, whether that's in Europe, United States, Asia. So those, and because of the length of time, it takes months for these oil tankers to get there. So actually, there's a lot of oil tankers that are going to be delivering oil, and that's going to be landing on those shores in about a week or 10 days from now. So there's going to be fresh reshipments of oil coming in, in about 7 to 10 days, Alex, and so that's going to be great. And this is where people are going to think, hey, look, we just got an oil tanker in, everything's good to go. But guess what? Since February 28th, there has not been a new one. So again, we're not going to see the shock of this for, not fast forward until kind of mid-May, end of June, kind of mid, let's call it June 1st to June 15th. That's when the next shipment of oil, of these oil tankers would on schedule be, of course, coming. But guess what? They haven't left the port yet. They have not left the Strait of Hormuz because the Strait of Hormuz has been closed for such a long time. And that's where you're going to see the actual going to see, in my opinion, I think that's where you're going to see the stock market become really volatile. And so I think a lot of people, you need to prepare for that. I've certainly changed my portfolio, and I've changed the way that I'm investing because a lot of people are just not thinking clearly on this right now. And I think Trump has opened Pandora's box, and Iran is going to go the distance here. They're not going to trust Israel. Why would you? Look at how much land they've taken in Lebanon. Israel is trying to exercise regional hegemony, and they have just made so much mistakes and so many enemies that they just don't have that ability to do that. Hence, they need America to come in there. I think it's just bad news. I mean, we're just going to look at a very, very long, drawn-out conflict.
And right to the point where we get to negotiations, Jared Kushner gets invited, the Undertaker. He arrives, leaders dead within 48 hours in body bags. It's happened, and it will continue to happen. If a broker deal gets close, the Americans get close to the Iranians, the Israelis will come in the next day, kill people, and we're back to start zero. Netanyahu doesn't want this war over by a long shot. Let's bring up the clip with Mark Levin here, and let's have a look here. All right. You want me to read this, or you got her, Cyrus?
Go ahead and read it, buddy.
All right, here we are. Mark Levin, everyone. Arm the Iranian people immediately. I've been calling for this for weeks on radio. People still listen to radio? Okay. One thing we can do, which Reagan did in Afghanistan, Angola, and Nicaragua, is arm the people in Iran so they are no longer butchered by these monsters without the ability to fight back. They will rise up as a real fighting force, but they need weapons, and it must be done immediately, especially if we are talking about ending our military operation in a few weeks. Well, there we are. We're going to drop, guns from the sky, AK-47s from Apache helicopters, and everybody's just going to pick up a gun and, voila, solution. Wow, great, Mark. Pretty intelligent guy.
I mean, again, this is what I mean, Alex, is you just have to laugh at just the audacity and just the you honestly can't make up how incompetent our leaders and the people that are commenting on this war are. I mean, again, it's this, you live in this fantasy land. Okay, like you said, what are we going to do? We're going to just start dropping in, AK-47s and guns from the air. And hey, guys, you've probably never held a gun in your entire life, but just start picking it up and, let's form a coalition and let's overthrow the military. I mean, tweets like this is honestly just a tremendous waste of time. But unfortunately, we have these people like that just have no clue on what they're doing. They honestly have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea, what is actually going on. It's remarkable. Alex, go ahead and play another clip. I got to change the battery on my camera.
Yeah,
here.
no
My
worries.
battery's about to go out.
All right, let's go for that. Let's play the next clip. This is good old Lindsey Graham.
What I learned tonight, Iran's going to have a choice in 2 to 3 weeks. You either do a deal where you get out of the business you were in, or we're going to blow your stuff up that will allow you to function as a nation. That is your choice.
Well, let me ask this, because, by the way, I don't even think they have 2 or 3 weeks, Senator. That's 2 or 3 weeks when their infrastructure would be blown up. That's their electric grid. That is their ability to have any income. The lifeblood of their entire economy is oil. So that would no longer exist. Let me ask.
Well, Mr. Hannity and Mr. Graham, the dynamic duo on Fox Network, talking about obliterating everything so that they have no future. Wow, that's quite impressive. Okay, well, if Iran has no future, America is on the way to having the same. If you take out a country like Iran's, even its ability, third largest world oil producer on the planet, you take them out, it's total knockout for our economy. Whether we like it or not, all of this is attached, Cyrus, and it's quite important that we, it's not like we're saying, we support these governments. But again, they always say, Iran, state-sponsored terrorists, but nobody will ever go after the Saudis. Will they? No one will ever say anything about the Saudis. Not the Americans. No, hell no. No. Can't talk about the Saudis. No. Great guys. We got lots of money from them. And the Qatars? No, amazing guys. Very happy with the jet they gave us. No. And this is the disappointing thing. You know, I actually thought in 2016 when Trump went into power, I thought, here we go. We got a guy that has a vision. He wants to make money. We don't have a politician in the White House. This guy's going to be on the road. The golden years are coming. Make America great again. Had the nation behind him. Everything was ready to rock and rolling. And then, of course, he had political challenges. And, well, that pretty much cost him his presidency. And then he came back with a vengeance. I don't think he came back to make America great again. I think he came back to try to destroy the Democratic Party again. I think that's his whole goal here. Wipe that Democratic Party out. And while we're at it, let's get into a bunch of wars. Let's kick some ass. I'm 80 years old. I got a few years left. So here's my wish list. I want Iran gone. I want Cuba gone. I want Venezuela gone. No wonder these countries are trying to get their hands on nuclear weapons. If you don't have them, look what happens. You get hauled out of your house in the middle of the night in your pajamas with your wife. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what we're seeing. And we've all become numb to this, Cyrus. We're all numb to this.
You know, it's astounding, and I think it's sad because you're starting to see a lot of tweets online that again there was a clip from I think it was a tweet from Donald Trump. I'm going to say 2016, 2017, where he just said, invading Iran would be a catastrophic mistake. You know, the United States government has wasted billions of dollars in the Middle East. Any president that does this should be impeached. This is just not in the benefit of our nation. A lot of people are retweeting that old tweet in 2026, basically saying, what happened to this guy? You know, where's this guy at? When did this, where did this version of Donald Trump go to? We've seen a tweet that I actually, in fact, retweeted myself. This was from the Charlie Kirk. Obviously a very, very conservative influencer that was assassinated last year. But he basically said he tweeted out on April 3rd, 2025. It's going unnoticed because there's so much other news happening. But the war drums are beating again in D.C. And we are talking about another regime change in Iran. A new Middle East war would be a catastrophic mistake. Our military stockpiles are depleted from 3 years of backing Ukraine. Our effort to reshore manufacturing has only just begun, and it will take years to bear fruit. War would worsen, and it would our immense deficit and national debt. And Iran is larger than Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan combined. And so this is what Charlie Kirk had warned, saying that, look, there are war drums being beaten in Washington, D.C. This is April 3rd. This is basically a year ago. This is exactly a year ago, April 3rd, 2025. So a year ago, Charlie Kirk was already worried about that. And less than 1 year later, obviously he was assassinated, and he was also right on this, and he predicted this. In less than a year, Donald Trump starts a new war. But Alex, I think the problem with this is that, we just see, I honestly think that Iran has, you like to use I've heard a lot of people in my comment section use this biblical analogy of, David and Goliath, the great story of David and Goliath, where, Goliath on paper is the bigger, stronger fighter, right? I mean, he's a 9-foot giant with a huge sword. I mean, basically someone that is unstoppable. How could you, go against a 9-foot giant? And then, of course, being a small shepherd boy who maybe, let's call him 5 feet tall, how do they go against that? But all of a sudden, David goes to the stream, gets a rock, puts it in a slingshot, and then fires at full steam, and he hits hits Goliath right in between the eyes and knocks him down. And that's how the battle was won. And that's exactly what you're seeing what's amazing is that the United States is very good at blowing up things. We had Scott Ritter on the show. This is exactly what he said. We're great at destroying targets. But when I was in Iraq as a weapons inspector, I realized that we're just bombing the living stuff out of things. And this is the same thing that happens in Gaza. I mean, look at the Israelis. They're very good at blowing up things. And they have absolutely blown up and basically destroyed everything there in Gaza. But the United States, I mean, again, you see these things where, okay, we've hit 10,000 targets, guys. We've hit 15,000 targets. We've hit 20,000 targets. Okay, well, guess what? The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Missiles are still being launched. Israel's still getting pummeled, and United States aircraft are still going down. So you can hit all the targets you want. It does not mean that you have ended Iran's military capability. And again, these smaller drones and these smaller aircrafts and these smaller ships actually have proved in military superiority, in my opinion, because again, you've got these massive battleships. The two biggest ones, I think it's the USS Lincoln and the USS Ford. They are now gone. They're gone from the Middle East. They're back to the United States undergoing repairs. The official word from the United States government, Alex, is that a laundry fire, the lint in one of the dryers caught fire. It was so bad that it couldn't be contained. And that is the official word from the United States government, which, of course, we know that is a bold-faced lie. It was attacked by Iran. It was absolutely hit by Iran. Because there's no way that a laundry fire could take out a United States aircraft carrier. It just doesn't work like that. Give me a break. You're telling me lint from a dryer caused a fire on a ship that now has deemed it, unusable for the next 14 months? Give me a break, Alex.
It's interesting. This rest has done you very well, Mr. Jansen. You are totally on top of your game, razor sharp today for sure. Another thing I wanted to mention to people, we're going to see some diplomacy play out here this week, especially from China with Wang Yi and Pakistan's government as well. Pakistan is caught right in the middle of this here. And this is going to really fracture their economy unless they get a deal done here in the next few weeks. Now, the Iranians seem to be cooperating. They are giving them as much support as they can, moving some of these vessels. But Pakistan, they want this over. China wants this over. China wants to get everybody back to business. Let's go make some money. Let's make the world great again. That's China's attitude, where they're like, you know what, guys, why, firing all these bombs? And what has China done this time, guys? And like they do most of the time here over the last 50 years is they sit this out. They win just by watching. And while everybody is smashing the hell out of all their toys in other parts of the world, the Chinese sit back, they calculate, and now we're seeing Wang Yi come in where, he is a top guy here in China here. He's holding talks with the Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs here coming up. I mean, it's incredible the diplomacy that we'll see out. Even Lavrov from Russia is getting involved at this point and really starting to see condemning what's happened here with the latest bombing of the nuclear power plant here. We're getting pretty close, and Israel's getting very close to having a very tense situation. If radiation starts to leak or anything like that, we're in a whole different element here. But yeah, Deputy Prime Minister Wang Yi and Foreign Affairs Minister Mohammad Ishaqdar from Pakistan. Look forward to listening to what those gentlemen have to say this week. Back to you.
It's going to be interesting. No, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we have an incredible ability. Let's take a look at what Donald Trump does this week, because let's remind everybody that last time he said, I'm going to give you 48 hours to respond to Iran. Iran said nothing. He then extended it. Donald Trump says, fine, I'll give you another 5 days. Now Donald Trump says, okay, I'm going to give you 10 days or else we're going to knock out your infrastructure. Now, just a friendly reminder, if you're bombing a power facility and knocking out an electrical grid, that is considered a crime against humanity. That is a war crime. So for you to be able to say there and look, we're going to knock out your power infrastructure. We're going to knock all of you out your grids. We're going to bomb you to the Stone Ages. This is another attack against the civilization. So this is some very dangerous words for Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth to just be spewing out because there are consequences. We do live in a world where there are consequences. And I think that, again, it's going to be very interesting, Alex, because we are less than 24 hours away from, the supposed deadline. Are we going to see Trump taco out on Monday? Are we going to see another Taco Tuesday from Donald Trump where he then extends it, or maybe he tries to get another peace negotiation? Again, I just want people to look at Donald Trump's track record over the last 15 months. There's been a significant amount of tacoing out, starting something. And, Trump is the arsonist and the firefighter. This is what he loves to do more than anything. And again, I think the best example of this would be it's Easter Sunday. And now Trump gets to go online and say, look, we have launched the most impressive rescue mission in United States military history, only because of the United States and how great we are and how magnificent our fighters are. Hashtag no man left behind. The United States is winning. You know, we are the true patriots. We are the conquerors, and, you know, God be with us, and everything is going to be great. And that's what you're going to hear. So, and people don't realize, well, yeah, you had to rescue those guys because our fighter jets, you know, we lost 4 fighter jets. Again, the worst day in U.S. military history since 1972 Vietnam War. But all of a sudden here, Alex, you know, now you're seeing Donald Trump is able to spin it and say, like, look, we've rescued our 2 pilots. Well, happy for the pilots that they've been rescued. But again, why were they in that position? Why are they fighting over there? What are they doing? What is our game plan here? And there is no exit strategy. There is no opportunity for the United States to do this. We've seen this constantly just fumbled from the U.S., where, like you pointed out, Alex, you know, day one, it's going to be regime change, guys. We got to get regime change. Rise up. Now let's drop some guns down there. That's what they need. You know, let's just start arming all these people. That way they can just start their own army, and then they can overthrow the government. It's honestly a colossal waste of time. We know that this will not result in any changes, and anybody that has, you know, a brain can just realize that. So again, my message to everybody that is viewing this is that, unfortunately, we are at a position now where anything coming from the White House has to be viewed as propaganda.
Absolutely.
And nothing is truthful. I think it's just it's a shame. You know, I think the United States has made a grave mistake, and unfortunately, the world is going to have to pay for that. And we're seeing that, you know, throughout Asia, third world countries that are really struggling.
Yep.
You know, again, I saw one of my favorite YouTubers, Johnny Harris. He did a YouTube short yesterday where he's filming in Myanmar, and he's at the gas stations, and these guys, look, guys, this is a desperate time in Myanmar. 3-hour lines just to get, you know, gas in your motorbike. You know, people are, you know, I think Philippines went down to 4 days a week, you know, 4-day work weeks, because they're trying to balance that out. So it's a very difficult time.
Well, guys, watch the markets. You know, this deadline is happening just before the opening of the markets. Surprise, surprise, and the market manipulation. Anyway, guys, should we wrap it up here, Cyrus, and see everybody next week? I think so.
We're about to open up for service.
Well, happy Easter to everybody. And again, everyone, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm Alex with Reportify Media, and this is Cyrus Jansen. What a great turnout today. It's been absolutely fantastic, and we wish everybody
the main resort.
A really nice day coming up. And hopefully you guys will be tuning in next week. Cyrus, let's roll the credits, and let's get out of here, huh? What do you think, buddy?
Sounds good, bud. Thanks for your time, Alex. Thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing everybody. Guys, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's Talk Geopolitics coming at you every single weekend moving forward, guys.
See you guys later.
Thank you, Alex, for a great show.
Bye.